You woke up this morning, walked to a sink, squeezed gel made in a lab onto a plastic stick covered in nylon bristles, and scraped your teeth clean in about 90 seconds. You didn't think about it. You'll do it again tonight and tomorrow and every day for the rest of your life, and you'll never once wonder what would happen if you just stopped. Here's the thing. For most of the time humans have existed, nobody had toothpaste, no toothbrush, no dentist, no fluoride, no sink. And yet, the fossil record shows something that doesn't add up. Ancient humans, tens of thousands of years before any of that existed, were already messing with their own teeth on purpose, scraping them, picking them, in some cases drilling holes straight into them, without anesthesia, without knowing what a bacteria even was. So the question isn't really, how did they survive without toothpaste? It's, why did people who had never seen a toothbrush already understand that their teeth needed attention? And the answer starts long before humans were even human. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, have been recorded in the wild doing something strange. They strip a twig, chew one end until it frays into a soft brush, and use it to clean debris out from between their teeth. Nobody taught them this. It shows up independently in multiple chimp populations, which means this impulse, the discomfort of something stuck in your teeth, the instinct to dig it out, isn't a human invention at all. It's older than our species. We didn't invent dental hygiene. We inherited the itch.
Now, fast forward to actual early humans, and the evidence gets specific fast. Archaeologists studying ancient tartar, the hardened plaque that builds up on teeth and fossilizes over thousands of years, have found something under the microscope in Stone Age skeletons. Grooves. Small, repeated scratches on the sides of teeth, worn down in the exact same spot again and again. The going explanation is that early humans were dragging thin plant fibers or twigs between their teeth over and over for years to clear out whatever was stuck there. It's not brushing, it's closer to aggressive flossing with whatever was lying around. But it's deliberate, it's repeated, and it means Stone Age people were bothered enough by something in their teeth to develop a habit around fixing it long before anyone had a word for hygiene. And here's a detail that surprises people. Their diet was actually working in their favor. Before farming, humans weren't eating bread, sugar, or anything processed. Meat, roots, wild fruit, nuts, tough, fibrous food that took real chewing and didn't leave much sugary residue behind for bacteria to feast on. Some researchers who study ancient skeletons have pointed out that cavities were genuinely rare in these populations. Their teeth were often worn down flat from grinding tough food and grit, but they weren't rotting. In a strange way, the Stone Age diet was doing dental work that your toothbrush now has to compensate.
Then, around 14,000 years ago, someone in what's now northern Italy had a cavity, and someone else decided to do something about it. This is the skeleton archaeologists call Villa Bruna. Under a scanning electron microscope, researchers found tiny V-shaped scratch marks inside one of his molars, cut by a sharp flint tool. Not random damage. Precise, repeated scraping into the exact spot where the tooth had rotted, clearing out the decayed material. It's the oldest confirmed evidence of a human intentionally treating a cavity, thousands of years before agriculture, before pottery, before permanent villages. Someone looked at another person's rotten tooth and understood, on some level, that removing the bad part might help. That's not an accident. That's medicine. A few thousand years later, in Slovenia, someone took it a step further. A 6,500-year-old jawbone was found with a crack running through one of the teeth, the kind of crack that exposes the sensitive inner layer and makes every bite agonizing. Whoever owned that jaw packed the crack with beeswax. Scientists confirmed it under multiple types of imaging, an actual dental filling made from something a person could find in a hive, pressed into a broken tooth to stop the pain. It's the oldest therapeutic filling ever discovered. Somebody, 5,500 years before the invention of the drill you're terrified of at the dentist, figured out that sealing a crack could make it hurt less. But nothing tops what was happening around the same time in a place called Mehrgarh in what's now Pakistan. Archaeologists excavating a Neolithic graveyard found 9 adult skeletons with the combined 11 molars that had been deliberately drilled, while the people were still alive. The holes are almost perfectly round, 2 to 3 millimeters wide, cut with a bow drill tipped in flint, the exact same tool local craftsmen were using to drill holes in beads for jewelry. Someone realized the tool they used to make necklaces could also be pointed at a rotting tooth, and they used it repeatedly on multiple people over roughly 1,500 years. This wasn't a one-off act of desperation. It was a tradition, a dental practice passed down, refined, and used on real patients who apparently survived the procedure because the holes show signs of healing afterward. Somewhere in Neolithic Pakistan, someone was functionally the world's first dentist. No pain medication, no sterilization, just a bow, a flint tip, and a very brave.
So, by the time actual civilizations show up, Egypt, Mesopotamia, China, humans already had thousands of years of experimenting with their own teeth behind them. And once people started living in cities, the problem got worse before it got better. Farming meant grain, grain meant bread, bread meant flour ground between 2 stones, and that stone grit ended up baked into every single loaf. Egyptians were essentially eating a small amount of sandpaper with every meal. Their teeth wore down fast, cracked, got infected, and for the first time, dental pain became a widespread, everyday problem instead of an occasional one. So they responded the way humans always do. They built a whole system around it. Egyptian texts describe grinding up ox hooves, ash, burnt eggshells, and pumice, mixing it into an abrasive paste and scrubbing it onto their teeth, essentially a homemade, thousands-year-old version of your toothpaste, minus the mint flavor and minus any idea that bacteria existed. Tombs have turned up little wooden sticks with one end chewed and frayed into soft fibers, the same design chimpanzees figured out on their own, just formalized into an actual tool people carried and reused.
Meanwhile, over in Mesopotamia, people were dealing with the same problem and inventing their own fixes in parallel. Cuneiform tablets describe an early form of dental hygiene, wrapping a finger in cloth, soaking it in a mixture of salt, vinegar, and alum, and rubbing it directly onto the teeth. It's essentially a finger toothbrush with a homemade antiseptic rinse, invented independently on the other side of the ancient world by people solving the exact same problem with whatever materials they had. And when it came to actually explaining why teeth hurt, the Sumerians landed on an idea that stuck around for an unbelievably long time: the tooth worm. The belief that a tiny worm burrowed inside your tooth and gnawed away at it from the inside, causing the pain. It sounds absurd now, but think about it from their side. Pull a rotten tooth, and the dark, hollowed-out cavity really does look like something has been eating it from within. That explanation was so convincing, it survived essentially unchanged in medical texts across multiple civilizations for over 2,000 years. People were still blaming toothworms in parts of Europe in the 1700s. It took until the invention of the microscope for anyone to actually prove the worm was never there. It was bacteria the whole time, just too small to see. By the time you get to ancient Greece, the approach starts sounding almost modern. Meanwhile, over in Mesopotamia, people were dealing with the same problem and inventing their own fixes in parallel. Cuneiform tablets describe an early form of dental hygiene, wrapping a finger in cloth, soaking it in a mixture of salt, vinegar, and alum, and rubbing it directly onto the teeth. It's essentially a finger toothbrush with a homemade antiseptic rinse, invented independently on the other side of the ancient world by people solving the exact same problem with whatever materials they had. And when it came to actually explaining why teeth hurt, the Sumerians landed on an idea that stuck around for an unbelievably long time: the tooth worm. The belief that a tiny worm burrowed inside your tooth and gnawed away at it from the inside, causing the pain. It sounds absurd now, but think about it from their side. pull a rotten tooth, and the dark, hollowed-out cavity really does look like something has been eating it from within. That explanation was so convincing, it survived essentially unchanged in medical texts across multiple civilizations for over 2,000 years. People were still blaming toothworms in parts of Europe in the 1700s. It took until the invention of the microscope for anyone to actually prove the worm was never there. It was bacteria the whole time, just too small to see. By the time you get to ancient Greece, the approach starts sounding almost modern. Hippocrates, yes, that Hippocrates, the guy your doctor's oath is named after, recommended cleaning teeth with a dry powder, a literal dentifrice, rubbed on with a cloth or a stick. Abrasive powder applied by hand to physically scrape debris off the tooth surface. That's not far from what you're doing with a toothbrush right now. The tools changed. The plastic, the nylon bristles, the tube, all of that came much, much later. But the core idea, grind up something gritty, apply friction, remove the buildup, is the same idea Hippocrates had 2,500 years ago, which itself echoes what a chimpanzee figures out by instinct with a chewed-up twig.
So here's the actual picture laid end to end. Long before humans existed, primates were already digging debris out of their own teeth with sticks. Stone Age humans wore permanent grooves into their teeth from thousands of repetitions of the same cleaning motion. 14,000 years ago, someone in Italy scraped the decay out of another person's cavity with a stone tool. 6,500 years ago, someone in Slovenia packed a cracked tooth with beeswax to numb the pain. 9,000 years ago, in a Neolithic village in Pakistan, someone picked up a bead drilling tool, pointed it at a rotting molar, and became, as far as we know, the first dentist in human history. And every civilization that came after inherited the same problem and kept inventing new versions of the same solution. Ash, ox hooves, cloth-wrapped fingers, dry powders, because the discomfort of a bad tooth is one of the very few things that has never, ever changed about being human. You'll brush your teeth again tonight and think nothing of it, but you're doing something your ancestors were already obsessed with getting right 14,000 years before anyone invented the wheel. The tools got better, the pain didn't go away, and neither did the instinct to fix it. Every tube of toothpaste in your bathroom cabinet is the current chapter of a habit that started with a primate and a chewed-up stick long before anyone alive today existed to brush anything at all. If you want to look into any of this further, the research is linked in the description.